Alrighty guys, another technical video today. I'm going to talk about the difference between sorry. Alrighty guys, another technical video today. A bit of a mind-bending, kind of twisting, probably send you into a bit of a spiral, this one. But we're going to talk about the difference between active arm wrestling, active-passive arm wrestling, passive-active arm wrestling, and passive arm wrestling. Okay? I think I said that right. I get confused in getting the words right. But let's give each of those things a definition, and I will translate how you use each of those strategies on the table for you, and see if we can make some sense of it. Because they're all very important components of arm wrestling. They're all very important components of having table IQ. Now let's start with the easy ones. Let's start with active pressures. Active pressures, I'm going to use my quadratic fist here. This is an active pressure. Ready? That. Okay, that hit was active. That was my active effort to actually finish the match. Okay, active pressure, you have very little of it. It's like a nitrous oxide button. You might only have 10 seconds worth of capability to actually actively drive. Okay, it's a very short-lived, high-risk, high-reward method of pressures that you can impart on your opponent. Okay, be careful when you use this. Use it off the go, sure, bang. But the instant you don't get victory, you need to start to think about the management of your passive strength and passive pressures potential, because you'll run out really quickly. And if you do run out really quickly, you're in trouble, because this bad boy, passive pressure, is most likely going to be needed for victory at some point. Okay, now we're going to go to the other end of the spectrum. Okay, passive pressure. Passive pressure would be where I'm floating on a defensive position, encouraging my opponent to attack. Okay, I've got skin contact on my opponent's hand where I want to be, but I'm not going toward victory at all. There's no active pressure here at all. I'm waiting. I'm doing nothing. I'm waiting, and I'm creating traps and dead spaces. My pressure is actually negative. I'm almost going towards my opponent's victory itself, and I'm trying to bait them to go where I want them to, where I've laid a trap. I might have a pronation counter. I might have a supinated side pressure counter that I'm waiting for them to step into. I'm waiting, and I'm passive. Okay? So they're the broad ends of the spectrum. Now, I'll touch on this one a bit more actually. The passive pressure you use when the match is stopped. When the match is at a point where you know you can't just finish it with active pressure, and you're having to create an opportunity to bleed your opponent more than they can bleed you. Once a match stops, bleeding becomes the utmost important priority. Now, the two tools in the middle are going to be two tools that you can choose to use that will help you win this bleeding war and ultimately give you the chance to have the decisive victory. Now, okay, so we'll go back up to this end. So remember we had with the active pressure, that nitrous oxide button, active pressure. Now we're going to go to active passive. Okay, active passive pressure is best described as a squeeze. Okay, you can squeeze for maybe 3 times as long as you can drive. Okay, so active passive pressure looks like this. Okay, I'm sitting at about 70% of my maximum drive, but I'm just going to keep it on. I'm just going to squeeze. Okay, now squeezing or active passive pressure can be a great tool to use against your opponent when a match is stopped, if you believe you can do that more than they can. Because when you choose to do this, you are choosing to consume the fuel of your energy systems, of your ATP and your adenosine triphosphate, which is going to build up that lactic acid feeling quickly. You're deciding that you have more of that capability than your opponent, because your opponent will have to respond to this. They don't have a choice. They can either respond to it with the same active passive pressures, and you're going to find out who has the better tolerance, or it's going to force them to use full active. and they're going to try to punch through. And if you've got a good position, your body's in a great defensive nature, then boom, boom, you can absorb their active pressures. They run out of fuel, finish the job with your own little active surge. Okay, so active, passive. Now, remembering back over here, we got the passive pressure where I'm doing nothing. I'm waiting. I'm literally doing nothing. I'm not putting pressure anywhere. I've just got skin contact with where I want so that I can launch an offensive at any moment. This, of course, is the most restful position. Very little fatigue will build up in this position. But it's a beautiful way. You can make a mistake here, let your hand get to the wrong position, and when your opponent attacks, they might take it. So if you need to be highly aware of where the balance lies when you're in this passive pressure. But let's take a step back this way. Let's go to passive active. Now, passive active, okay, it's not a squeeze like active passive was. Okay, passive active is more, I would describe it as a coercion. You're gently coercing your opponent into doing what you want them to do. Okay, you're not waiting for them to decide. You're not trying to squeeze them into a position. You're trying to softly suggest to them where they should go. Now, this pressure, okay, it's not a squeeze. It's still very gentle. It's still very gentle. You've got the perfect skin contact for your counters, but you want to gain more in the hand. You don't yet feel as though your hand is secure enough to start revving up on this spectrum. And as a result, you're sitting there gently suggesting, come this way, come this way, come this way, come this way. You're slowly bringing them to a point where you can launch an offensive. You might be dragging in slow, but when I say dragging, the pressures might literally only be 3 or 4 kilos worth of pressure. Really gentle, like come on, you're just leading, trying to suggest to them. And if you suggest well enough in your body and your energy that you're delivering through your hand and wrist, they will follow. They will feel it and go, yeah, okay, I'll come with you over there. Because they're trying to conserve their own energy, and they can feel gently that if they resist this lead that you're showing them, that their lactic tolerance is going to start to increase, and they don't want that yet. They're not yet happy that they're in a position that they can go for the drive. Now, all of these things, as you lead someone gently to where you want them to be, there is going to come a time, like I said, when we're going to press that nitrous oxide button, okay? Or we're going to force our opponent to press the nitrous oxide button. Sometimes you lead this person into this dance so well, you win so much, you can take so much off them during this, that they all of a sudden realize, oh shit, I'm up the creek, and I have to now go for it, or I'm out of here. I'm going to just gas. And they'll press that nitrous oxide button with everything they've got. But you should have plenty in reserve too. But remember, through this passive arm wrestling, you've actually achieved a superior position. And so you should be we should be able to withstand it. When they go hard, you absorb, you redline as well, you protect and absorb. They run out of fuel, time to finish. Okay, and the alternative is, of course, like I said, you've led them into a position using this passive active pressure where you're like, actually, I now have a superior enough hand position, and I can sense that your opponent, their active defense is low, so I'm just going to press that button and burn all my fuel and get the job done. Alright guys, I did say that was going to blow your minds and be a bit of a confusing one. I hope you made sense of that. If you didn't, then it's all good, because I know, like I said, I get confused even myself in remembering all those phases. But yeah, I really do believe that they are all genuine parts of the sport. They're all genuine parts of table IQ, and start exploring all of them, because once you start experiencing that and start becoming competent in using all of those different methods to gain superior position and superior defense capabilities and superior counter-attacking opportunities, you'll really start to level up. Anyway, ladies and gents, hope you're well. I'll see you next time.